Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas, and today we are going to talk about creating workflow editors using the Workflow Builder SDK. Basically, we are going to talk about diagramming. But before we start, let me do some introduction. So, who am I? As I said, my name is Lucas. I have 12 years of experience working with diagrams. I would say that it is my main niche, and I enjoy it very much. I started my work as a full-stack developer working in .NET, but I quickly went to the front-end side, working with React. But 12 years ago, when I transitioned from full-stack to the front-end, I worked mainly on pure JavaScript and on diagrams. In the library, I'm going to talk a bit later. So my current focus is mainly working on the Workflow Builder SDK and Overflow library, which is like an extension to the Workflow Builder, and I'm going to show it too. Additionally, we also decided to create another library called ngDiagram. It is a diagramming library for Angular, so not for this meetup, but just letting you know that most of the things I do is around the diagramming. All right, so let's start. First of all, agenda. So at the beginning, I'm going to introduce you to the diagrams because I cannot assume that you already know how to work with diagrams, what are the main building points of the diagram. Later on, I'm going to showcase you the Workflow Builder and React Flow, because the React Flow is the diagramming library on which Workflow Builder is based on. Just a quick glance. We are not going to dive deep into the React Flow. Later on, we're going to have a live coding time, during which I'm going to present you how to adjust Workflow Builder to your needs and how to speed up your development of workflows, diagrams using Workflow Builder and additional libraries. And at the end, we're going to sum everything up. In June, I had a similar presentation, but the June presentation was focused mainly on React Flow. And in that presentation, I also introduced everyone to the diagrams. So the first part will be quite similar if you already attended the last workshop. If not, it will be, I think that everything will be new for you. Okay, so let's go further. What is the goal of this workshop? So first of all, I want you to understand how the diagrams work, the main basics of the diagrams, thanks to which it will be much easier for you to create diagramming UIs and workflow UIs. Later on, we're going, as I said, we're going to customize Workflow Builder, which is our product, the open source product, which helps creating workflows without having to dive into any diagramming library. You will see how easy it is to create any workflow application with this tool. I also want you to know the tools, existing tools which will speed up your development. And yeah, I'm not going to make you a diagramming expert in this 2 to 3 hours, but yeah, I want you to be able to start working with these UIs confidently. Okay, so the very first question, what is a diagram? Maybe you are not familiar with that. So I would say that the definition of the diagram I always use is a 2D interactive space with objects and relationships, which is interactive, which is usually interactive. Of course, it can be also read-only, but those interfaces which I worked on are usually very interactive. They usually resemble 2D games. So let's go through some examples of diagrams. The first thing you see is the workflow automation, like the orchestration UI to create some automation, to create some maybe call flow. The screen you see right now is the screen from the Workflow Builder. But diagrams are not only the workflows. They can be also database viewer. So if you are developers, it is quite familiar view for you. Almost any database has a visualization of entities inside the database. An diagram can also be an org chart or family tree, also very famous diagrams like those. And industrial diagrams are also there. In example, in the past, I had to create the application for the electrical schemas. My client wanted to visualize the electrical grid of Texas, like hundreds of thousands of objects, I would say even millions, and also millions of relationships presented on the screen. So diagrams can also grow very big. And I would say that sometimes even things which you wouldn't expect are diagrams, they can be diagrams. In example, in the past, I had to create an interface presenting fences for ships. So it was like for a shop which sold fences, and they wanted to design how those fences are connected with each other, so the client can design their own fences system. So it can be sold in a custom way to them. And it was also created as a diagram. All right, so what are the building blocks of any diagram UI? So those elements which are draggable are nodes. Maybe I will also share with you one of the diagramic examples. It is an example of a diagram, and let's focus on the building blocks. So first of all, on the diagram, we can see objects, and those objects are called nodes. Besides nodes, we can also see relationships. They are called links or edges, depending on the library. Besides those, we can see the connection points to which the edges are connected, and from which sometimes it is possible to create a new edge. This connection point is called port or handle. Also depends on the diagramic library. The whole area, which we can see here, is a viewport. So the viewport is this screen in which we can see the diagram, but the whole diagram is placed on the workspace. So the area which is bigger than the viewport. Usually the viewport has some coordinate system with some origin point inside the workspace, according to which all of the objects, nodes and points of edges are positioned. Besides nodes, edges, viewports, workspace, and ports, there are also groups. Groups are just a special kind of nodes, which can be a container for other nodes. So you can think of them as a box to which you put other nodes, and they can be moved together when we drag them. So what are the main features of the diagram UI? So usually when we work with the diagram, it's possible to zoom in and zoom out the workspace and to scroll the workspace horizontally and vertically. And this scrolling action is called pan or panning. Additionally, of course, you already seen that this is an interactive interface. So I would expect that it is possible to copy and paste objects around. When we do some action, when the user does some action, it would be great if the action could be undone or redone. So we don't have to redo that diagram from scratch if we break some. Drag and drop, a very common feature. Of course, usually the diagramming libraries implement the drag and drop inside the workspace. But what about some palettes? Let's say on the left-hand side, we could have some palette, which with objects inside, like a library, from which we can drag and drop objects on the diagram. So this drag and drop can be also from external world, from the diagram to the diagram. Edges, they usually have routing. So of course, it is very easy to create an edge, which is just a straight line between objects, between nodes. But more often, we see the routing, like orthogonal edges between nodes, or Bezier, which look very smooth and nice. When we select an object on the screen, we would like to also be able to edit this object. Like, let's say we selected a person, entity person, and we would like to present their data, like name, surname, address, maybe children, etc. So not all the attributes are going to be presented inside a diagram, inside a node. Some of them probably should be presented in the sidebar. Let's imagine the right-hand sidebar with some properties of selected object, which we can edit and are saved to the model of the diagram. The very common feature, auto layout. If we present on the diagram a lot of data, especially when we load the data from the database, and this data, of course, doesn't have any positioning because maybe it is just data from some Excel. We don't want to position everything manually. It will be great if it is possible to auto layout things, so the data is readable for the user without any user action. So auto layouting is a very broad topic. I would say it is possible to create a separate workshop only for the auto layouting, and I would say it is quite challenging part of the diagrams. But fortunately, there are libraries which can help with this thing. And additionally, of course, keyboard shortcuts. If you are a power user and you would like to do things very quick, or you require accessibility, then keyboard shortcuts are a must. Of course, instead of dragging objects on the screen, it would be great to have the ability to just press arrow buttons on the keyboard to move objects, use Control-C, Control-Y, Control-C and Control-V to copy and paste, or Control-Z, Control-Y to undo, etc. Those keyboard shortcuts are usually required in this kind of diagrams, this kind of interfaces. All right. So what I have already told you looks like a quite complicated UI with a lot of additional with a lot of features, but it can get complex even further. With our clients, they always want to have a diagram which is beautiful, complex, and fast. So it should have very good performance. So usually it is not possible to achieve both three unless we constrain data, which we visualize. It depends on the client. To achieve each of those points, we need to consider what kind of diagramming library we should choose. So let's see what are the diagramming libraries there. So I would say that the diagramming libraries can be divided into 4 parts: WebGL, Canvas, SVG, and HTML DOM. And it is from the fastest, from the library with the greatest performance, to the library with the least performance, but with the much better capability of rendering things. So First of all, WebGL. So we have libraries like Keylines, Ogma, Sigma.js, and those libraries are focused on rendering millions of elements. It is completely possible to render millions of nodes in 60 FPS. But the thing is, it is very hard to create a custom object on the diagram. If you just want to render a circle with some text and millions of such circles connected with very simple edges, then WebGL library would be great for you, because this kind of visualization is very quick to achieve inside such library. But if you want to have a very rich object with a lot of data inside, with interactive buttons, inputs, maybe charts, then with WebGL it is almost impossible to implement it. With WebGL, if we want to introduce custom look to the object, we need to we need to write not CSS but some matrix transformations. So quite hard work. Then we have Canvas libraries, and their representatives are Go.js, Wi-Fi, Cytoscape. Those kind of libraries also have very good performance. Like, it is possible to render hundreds of thousands of objects. Millions are impossible. Hundreds of thousands are achievable, and it is much easier to achieve custom look of nodes. But the thing is, it is still Canvas, and using Canvas, we cannot use any CSS to style elements. So actually, those libraries needed to implement their own templating system, and which you need to learn to be able to style elements inside those libraries. They are very powerful. I would say that the libraries from this area, the Canvas, are the most powerful libraries. We mainly use them for the big industries when we have to visualize a lot of elements on the screen, some icons, but still those elements cannot be too content rich. Because if we want to add, I don't know, a React component inside a node, it is very hard to do so, because it is Canvas, and on Canvas we just draw elements like with pencil. Then we have SVG libraries. I know one library which uses SVG as a rendering engine. It is called Joint.js. It has a little bit worse performance than Canvas library, but it uses SVG as a rendering engine. So actually, it is possible to use CSS to style elements. Still, it is not so easy to just place React component inside a node in this kind of library, but it is easier than with a Canvas rendering engine. And finally, there are libraries which use HTML DOM as a rendering engine, React Flow as Svelte Flow, and ngDiagram. Of course, React Flow is for React, Svelte Flow is for Svelte, and ngDiagram is for Angular. And those libraries, they just render as pure HTML. So actually, they can use a framework. They can leverage framework to render elements on the screen. So in example, with React Flow, you can expect that the node is just a React component. So I would say that those libraries allow you to use, to add the richest nodes to the diagram. Actually, you can add whatever you want inside it. It is very easy to start with those libraries, because you just need to know the framework. Like, if you already know React, then using the React Flow, it is a matter of one day to read the documentation and to start. Whereas for other libraries, it is, I would say, a matter of weeks to start with the library. But on the other hand, it uses HTML DOM, so it is impossible to render even tens of thousands of elements on the screen, because the HTML DOM has the poorest performance among all of those rendering engines. As I said, the HTML DOM still is capable of rendering thousands of elements. So I would say for most of the UIs, it is more than enough. So nowadays, when I observe our clients, when I observe people using diagrams, the HTML DOM libraries are way to go, unless you require very good performance or built-in algorithms. Then you go to those libraries. So I have already described you what are the differences between each rendering engine. So I'm not going to repeat myself here. So going further, the React flow, because of course we are in the from the React world, so we are going to discuss the library which is created for the React flow. For the React. So as I said, the nodes are rendered just as React components. Additionally, the React flow has a possibility to create edges between nodes. It is possible to group nodes together to the node containers. You can also resize node manually. Each node may contain ports or handles for creating manual edges from them. It is possible to navigate the diagram using scrolling, panning, zooming, and they also ship the minimap, which helps to navigate big diagrams. And as a state management, it uses Zustand, but it is possible to connect your own state library. It is quite easy to do so. All right, so before we jump into the coding, live coding, I want to show you how the React flow works. And I'm going to show you the library I created for the last workshop I performed. It was, as I said at the beginning, it was the workshop for introducing people to React Flow in the code. All right, so, but first of all, let's see what's the application I have created with this. The application was very simple. We just had some objects which are draggable. We had some edges connected to ports. It was possible to remove edge, create a new edge. There are labels on edges. It is possible to zoom in, zoom out with buttons, but also with shortcuts. It is possible to pan the diagram, zoom in, zoom out. We can see the minimap on the right-hand side, which you can use to navigate the diagram. It's possible to create a new node using some very simple React component, which invokes React Flow methods. Nodes have some toggle inside them, which, when clicked, they add a new handle. So it is possible to create a new handle in the runtime, and it is possible to have some right-hand sidebar which edits object, and editing is in real time. Additionally, when we create some edges and create some messy diagram, we can keep a layout nodes, and then we will use some external. We are using the external library to connect objects with each other. I mean, to layout objects. Something like that. I'm showing you the React Flow right now because, as I said, React Flow is the foundation of the Workflow Builder. So if you want to do some very advanced things with Workflow Builder, then you need to use React Flow. But it is not required to do so. Most of the actions can be performed in Workflow Builder without any knowledge of React Flow. But this I'm going to present you during the live coding. So right now, just quick glance on the source code of this application. All right, so each React Flow application starts with the diagram. A diagram is just a React component which inside renders a React Flow component imported from React Flow library. To this component, we usually pass a collection of initial nodes and initial edges. Let's see how they look like. So initial nodes is just an array of type node, which contains some data like ID, position, type, and it also can contain data, which is just an object which can hold anything and is mainly used to hold some business attributes of the entity. Similarly, Edge also has some predefined attributes like ID, source, and target, which tell us what node is connected to which node. They may have a marker end or marker source, which tells us what kind of arrow should be visible at the end of an edge. And both of those types, they use a type to choose what kind of React component should be used to render this data. So if we don't provide a type, then the default React Flow node will be rendered, and this is just a rectangle with text, and that's it. So if we want to have a node which is more than a rectangle, we need to implement it ourselves. So we can see in here that we have node with type custom. So let's go to to the implementation of this node. In the project, we have a node templates directory, inside which we have just a regular React component, which receives the attributes of the node, which we have seen in the diagram. So those attributes are fed to the node as a props, and we can use them to render a node. And in here, you can just see that the node is just a div with some additional things inside, and it uses the built-in handle component from React Flow for rendering those connection points to which we can connect the edges. If we want to have a node resizable, we can add a built-in component node resizer to the object, and then the whole node starts to be resizable. Since it is just a React component, it can be styled with CSS, and we can see in here that, yeah, we have some CSS module for styling the node. So what we see in here is just this object. Now let's look on the edge. So the edge, the same, just a React component receiving edge data as a props. When creating a custom edge, we need to tell what kind of routing algorithm should be used to compute points of edge, to compute a path of edge. And the React Flow provides us some routing algorithms like smooth step path, which looks like that. So we can see those orthogonal bands. This kind of routing is usually used in some industrial diagrams. All right, going back to the edge. To render the edge, we use some types imported from React Flow, like base edge, which constructs path of the edge, and actually, in the end, it renders edge as SVG. And it is also possible to add a label to the edge with this kind of notation and this kind of object imported also from React Flow. All right. we already saw that we can feed initial nodes and initial edges to the diagram. We can create a look for them. But how do we say that this type, custom, is bound to this component? It is configured on the diagram, on the React Flow component. In here, there are two collections, node types and edge types, to which we provide this mapping. So we can see that the node types is just a map or an object, which tells that the custom string is associated with the node template defined in here. We can also see additional attributes of the React Flow component, like we can provide a feed view attribute, which tells the diagram if the diagram should be rendered as a whole. So then diagram is fit to screen, so we can see all of the data initially. Whether it is possible to move objects by snapping point. So right now, when I drag a node, it moves by 20 pixels. It is not fluent movement by 1 pixel. It moves in steps of 20 pixels. Usually the snapping helps in positioning of objects. It is also possible to provide a property only render visible elements, and it tells the diagram that it should optimize the rendering process, and only those elements which should be visible on the screen are rendered, and everything off the screen is not rendered to the React. Thanks to that, it is possible to visualize bigger diagrams. It's like a trick. Okay, besides the React Flow, we can also see additional components passed to the React Flow, like background. So the background is just this grid behind the diagram. So we chose lines, so we see the lines. If I choose dots, then we can see the dots shown in the background. Minimap, so the predefined component from React Flow for rendering this object to ease the navigation. Controls, so those default controls for zooming in, zooming out, making diagram. I need to move the control from the zoom. I cannot. Underneath, there's also control for zoom to fit. Yes, and React Flow also provides us additional panels which we can position wherever we want, and in which we can provide and just pure HTML to provide to show additional UI around diagram, over diagram. So what else we implemented during last workshop? We also had sidebar. So the sidebar, it is this area on the right-hand side. And when we edit input, this input is being transmitted to the object, which is right now selected. So how it is used? First of all, React Flow gives us some hooks, which can provide us the model. So there is a hook use nodes, which returns all the nodes in the model, which we can use to find already selected objects. And for the selected node, we can perform some actions. In example, we have input for the title, and when title changes, we invoke update node, which we get from use React Flow hook, which updates the node with certain ID, with certain data. So as you can see in here, I'm passing the selected node's ID, and I'm passing the new data for the node. In example, I'm just spreading the old data, and additionally, I'm giving the new value for the title. Thanks to this action, when I edit the input, I can see that this node is being changed. Additionally, we also have this layouting. So let's see how it was implemented. So we have created a use auto layout hook, which also gets data from the React flow using getNodes, getEdges, and updates the model using the update node function. It uses external library called Dagri.js. It is one of the libraries for the auto layouting. There are others like Elk.js, but especially Elk.js is very powerful, but also very complicated with not so good documentation. So for the sake of the presentation, it is much better to use Dagri, which is fast enough, but doesn't provide any configuration options. But still, thanks to that, it is possible to render a tree. I would say not even tree, but directed graph with some with nodes having multiple parents, with long edges spreading across multiple rows of objects, with even loops. So it is like a powerful tree, powerful graph. How we use this library? We are just getting nodes and edges, setting up the graph object, telling it that it should position objects from top to bottom. Then we are going through nodes and mapping them to this graph model with this setNode function. Sorry. The same for edges. We are going through edges and we are mapping those edges to this model. And then we are performing the Dagri layout on the model, which assigns positions to nodes inside the model. So since we have those positions inside the G, we need them to be mapped once again to the model of React Flow using the update node. So we need to use custom code to perform auto layouting in the React Flow library. It differs, this library, from like in example Go.js or Wi-Files or Join.js, because that libraries they have such auto layouting built in. As I said, those Canvas and SVG libraries are very powerful and they have a lot of features built in, but they don't render as HTML DOM and they require a lot of learning to start to use them. With React Flow, it is much easier to start, but you need to do a lot more of custom development. So I would say that in the end, React Flow provides you just basics like draggable nodes, connectable with edges, containers, resizing, coordinate system, zoom in, zoom out, and some means to get the model and update the model. So very basic thing. I would if you check the library, they don't even provide copy and paste or undo and redo. But you can check their examples. In the examples, they implement copy and paste and redo and other functionalities required in more advanced diagramming work. But those examples aren't part of the library. So they just provide you an information how you could implement those features, not how they should be implemented. So they are not production ready. And some of those examples are also behind the paywall, because the React Flow, it is open source library, but it has pro version. The pro version has the same code, but with pro version you have access to more advanced examples. So I wanted to present you the React Flow, how the working with the React Flow looks like, what are the capabilities of the library, just to show you the advantages of our product, Workflow Builder. So now I'm going to move to the Workflow Builder. So what you can see right now on the screen is the Workflow Builder product and what it is. And So we found out during working with the React Flow library that it lacks a lot of features, the production-ready features. And we usually, when we create a diagrammic interface, especially the workflow interface, we start from the same foundation. We always have to implement the same things over and over again. So for our company, we decided to create a foundation which is used for any further project development regarding workflows. So and out of this foundation, we created Workflow Builder. The Workflow Builder is not a ready-to-use product. It is like a white label solution, the foundation. So when you need to create any workflow interface, you can use Workflow Builder as a start. And then you can just modify its code to achieve your goals. But we know that modifying someone else's code is not a trivial thing. Even though it is just a foundation, it is quite a powerful solution. So learning this solution takes some time. We found out that usually you don't want to extend diagrammic logic. The diagrammic logic is usually the same. Some drag and drop, drawing edges, auto layouting, editing properties via sidebar, undo redo, copy paste, etc. So, and the thing you usually change is the business data. So the things you visualize using the diagram. So we decided to create mechanisms for the user to easily change what they can see on the palette, what is visible on the diagram, and easily change the form for editing properties of such object. So we are going to dive into this in a while, how to create a custom object, add them to the Workflow Builder, and actually how it is done, so it is very easy to implement. But now let's focus on the capabilities of Workflow Builder. First of all, Workflow Builder has two versions, open source and enterprise. The open source version gives you enough as a foundation. And I'm going to showcase you all of the features of the open source version. After that, I'm going to show you features which are only for the enterprise version. All right, so what is possible with the open source version? First of all, both of versions have similar UI. So on the top, we have top bar. On the left-hand side, we have a palette. On the right-hand side, we have a sidebar for editing properties. The palette is just a React component from which you can drag and drop objects onto the canvas, onto the diagram. Everything you can see on the screen was created using our design system, and it was very important for us that it is very easy to change the look and feel of the diagram. So all the styles are driven via CSS variables. So it is very easy to rebrand the Workflow Builder to any other set of colors, sizes, etc. And I'm going to showcase this later. Right now, I can just prove that it works with changing the theme, which just changes one file with CSS variables. Additionally, it is possible to change the diagram to the read-only mode. So right now, I cannot move objects. I can just move the diagram, but I cannot edit anything. The Workflow Builder also supports internationalization, so we can provide a custom language. Right now, it supports Polish and English, English because it's English, Polish because we are a company from Poland. Besides that, it is possible to import and export the state of the diagram. Let me create some simple diagram and export its state. So we can see that it is just a JSON. So we can use JSON to save data to the database. So I can just copy this JSON, clear the diagram, and import it. Okay, some error with importing. And just remove everything. And of course, it is a demo, and during demo, something always has to break. So it should be imported during the workshop. It will be hard for me to debug, so I'm going to leave it right now. All right. What's more, with this open source version, it is also possible to define your own node to the palette. And also to define your own set of attributes on the right-hand side, and even introduce your own control if we don't support the control you want to have. Right now, we have controls like inputs, select, switches, calendars, text areas, numeric inputs, but if you want to have more specialized control, it is quite easy to add new control, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So basically, with this open source version, you have a fully configured React Flow application with the model, drag and drop, diagramming actions already defined, with the good styling, with ability to rebrand your product. And what comes with the enterprise, mainly undo redo mechanism, additional edges, like this edge is just a simple orthogonal edge, but what if I want to reshape the edge manually? So it's possible with our functionality. Moreover, maybe you want an edge which avoids other objects. So let me refresh the page. Right now, the edge is set to avoid nodes. So I'm going to put an object in its path, and the edge automatically avoids this object. We have widgets, but I'm going to tell you more about widgets during the live coding. We have also auto layouting, which uses this ELK algorithm, quite powerful algorithm. But to showcase this algorithm, I'm going to load some pre-existing diagram. All right, so let's create some messy diagram. As you can see, all of those edges are put into this avoid nodes feature, so they avoid other objects and also avoid other edges. So the diagram is quite readable, even if I just moving things around. But I can just run auto layouting once again. And once again, the diagram is readable. I can change its direction, let's say from the top to bottom or left to right. If I have the diagram already created, maybe I would like to create some report and export it to PDF. So it's possible to do so. And I have several options. I could split this diagram into multiple pages, or maybe fit all the diagram to one size. I'll just export what I can see on the screen right now. So let me export the diagram. I mean, the page in the PDF is going to be the size of the diagram. Okay. Yes. So we can see the full diagram with fits into the page. I mean, the page fits the diagram. The PDF use the white background, but it is possible to configure the PDF export to use additional background, like black, if you want. Yes. So this concludes the presentation of the Workflow Builder. And now we are going to go into the live demo. And during the live demo, we are going to do, first of all, I'm going to show you how to add a node in very easy way. So if you want to do just to reuse the nodes you already seen in the presentation, but having your own data or your own icon with your own set of attributes, it is very easy to do so with this approach. If you want to create a completely new object, which doesn't resemble the objects you've seen in the Workflow Builder, like, I don't know, you want to put a video inside an object, chart with a lot of other additional controls, then it is possible to do so with custom node. And I will show you how to add such node to the diagram. And additionally, such custom node will also use a custom control on the right-hand side to edit its properties. Next, we will, in this version, the node is going to be very simple. I mean, it's not going to look well. And next, I will show you how to very easily adjust the node to the look of the Workflow Builder using the open source library Overflow UI, which we also created. And I will show you how to rebrand the Workflow Builder to use your own set of colors and additional CSS variables. All right, so what you can see right now is the source code of the Workflow Builder. But before I jump into creating a new node, I wanted to say one more thing about this product, because I forgot to mention it previously. So the Workflow Builder is the SDK white label tool for the React only. So it is a front-end application. And its main purpose is to provide you an interface so you don't have to write the diagramming part by yourself. So for now, it doesn't contain any backend code, any rule engine implemented. It is just an interface. So you can use any backend you want with this interface, since it is just a React. On our roadmap is the implementation of example backend. So if you don't have any backend and you want to have a full stack application, it will be possible with a Workflow Builder in future. I'm just checking if the audio is okay. All right. I'm back to the source code. So in here we can see the source code of the Workflow Builder. Besides just project files like Dockers, some package JSON, etc. We have source, and inside source, the directories which are the most important is the data and features diagram. So in the diagram, we have all of the logic regarding the diagram. And especially in here, we have those node templates, which define how the nodes in the application look like. Whereas in data, we implement what is the data behind of each object. In the Workflow Builder, we have defined automated process which uses the default created node templates we already have in Workflow Builder. When you create the new data for the object, and you don't pass any template type to the object. If you don't pass any template type, and I would show you shortly where it should be passed. If you don't, then just the default node of the Workflow Builder, which looks like this, will be used for your object, but it will be parameterized. So you can provide your own icon, text, subtext, and the set of properties on the right-hand side. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to add a new object based on the object we already have in Workflow Builder with a set of customized attributes. All right, so let's start. So as you can see in here, we have some actions, triggers, delays, conditionals. So the default objects from the Workflow Builder. Maybe I would like to implement the logger node. So I can define that some message in Workflow should be logged when it is reached. Some delay happened, then triggered some conditional, and the conditional, in which I can provide some condition. When it is true, or maybe the solution would be better, sorry. This one has some branches, and maybe some branch should trigger some log message. And right now, I don't have any node to create a log. So let's create such a node and place it on the palette with some custom set of attributes. So first of all, let's go back to our source code, and let's go to the data nodes directory. As I said in here, we have a set of nodes. So to create a new node, let's create a directory for it. Let's name it logger. And inside the logger, we are going to provide information on what type of data it's going to contain. So first of all, we need to define schema for the data. So creating a schema, which is just an object which should satisfy predefined Workflow Builder type node schema. And such schema may have, first of all, properties. Let's say I want to have a property message, which is of type string, and which shows some placeholder. Maybe I would like to also have some additional attribute, whether the timestamp of the log should be included. So let's add include timestamp of type boolean. Maybe I would also like to have some select from using which I can define what kind of log it is, whether it is info, maybe warning, error, debug. So I'm not going to type it, let me just copy it from my notes. So I'm going to have some log level options, and I'm going to use them with custom attribute in here, log level. It's also going to be of type string. because the value is string inside the data, but it's going to have some options. It's going to be based on options. So it's just the object values of log level options provided above. And also I would like to show some placeholder. All right. So this is the custom data I would like to keep inside my node. But usually the node has some standard data like title and subtitle. So I don't want to define it for each new node. So actually we have some shell properties exported. So we can just use them here, and shell properties, what they define, they just define label and description of type string. Okay, so we have defined what kind of data should be kept inside our logger. Right now, I also want to expose the type created by the schema because it's going to be needed very soon. Okay, so the other thing I'd like to implement is how how to edit those properties on the right-hand sidebar. So we have a UI schema for that. And in here, maybe I should mention a very important thing. When I select a node and we see the form in here, the form is created using library JSON forms. And JSON forms library enables us to use dynamic forms which which behavior can be configured via schema. So the schema I'm going to implement right now is the schema used by JSON Forms, and it uses JSON Forms API. But it is very easy, and you will see it soon. So let's create an object, UI schema, of type UI schema. And this object is consisted of other objects, each describing one level of the form. So even now, when I'm on the root level of object, I'm describing how the root level of the form should look like. And I want the form to go from top to bottom. So it should have a vertical layout. So we have defined type, vertical layout. And this layout is going to contain following elements. So the first control, which we're going to see at the top of the sidebar, is going to be a control to editing title of the node. So it's going to be a control text. So with this type, I'm providing the type of control, UI control used to render my attribute. So let's see what controls are available. So as you can see, accordion, AI tools. So the AI tools is a custom control for the AI node. Date picker and decision branches. So you already seen that for the decision node, I could invoke a pop-up in which I can provide additional decision attributes. I can group objects with each other. I can have horizontal vertical layout. I can have just simple label, select, switch, text area. So those are created by default by Workflow Builder. if you require additional controls, you need to register them in the library and use them in here by name. And I'm going to show you how to do that shortly. For now, we are going to use the predefined field text, since the title is just a text. It's going to have a label title, some placeholder, no title. And we need to tell that this object of UI schema is bound to this object of the property inside the node, so to the label. Or if it was a message, I would need to be able to tell that it should be bound to the value of this message. So how to do that? We have a scope, and we created a helper to easily add a scope. So there is a method getScope. Using the schema we have just implemented, so logger node schema. To import this getScope too. All right, and now it is fully typed, so I can provide a properties label. Oops, sorry. All right, so I have provided I have described the first attribute, which is going to be shown on the right-hand sidebar. For now, let's leave it. Later on, we will add more attributes. Now let's move further. So the next thing I would like to add are the default values. So if I create a new node, I would like to have some default values for its attributes. So I'm going to add a default properties data file. I'm going to copy and paste it. So it follows the node data properties object, class, sorry, type, which uses the logger node schema we have defined in here, and we decided that the label should be logger, description should be like that, log level should be as default info without any message. Message should be provided by the user, and it should include some timestamp as default. All right, so we have just defined the very basic data for the object. Right now, only one field to edit label of the node, and we have provided the default value assigned to the object when it is created. So the last thing we need to create an object which groups all of this information together, and this object is going to be used as an input to the palette. So it's going to be called logger. It's palette item of the schema logger node schema. And first of all, it's type logger. The type here just identifies that it is a unique object. I'm going to use some predefined icon. In Workflow Builder, we use phosphor icons. So those icons are available by default, but Workflow Builder also has mechanisms, so you can define your own icons and you can use them here then. All right, so providing more properties. Just for the palette. Those info will be visible on the palette. Wrong. icon used? I should terminal. And now I need to provide those schemas I have just created. So default properties. Yes, and I'm going to import those from the folder of the logger. Okay, so we have now defined the palette item, what properties are going to it is going to have, what attributes it should have when being edited on the right-hand side, and what icon should be visible on the palette, what text and what description should be visible on the palette. So the last thing we need to do is we just need to register this object on the palette. So let's go to the palette. In here, we can see just an array of all available objects. So let's just add our logger here, automatically imported. All right, now let's hit save and let's see what happened in the application. So as you can see right now, at the bottom of the list, the new object appeared. It's called logger. It has the same title we defined inside logger palette item. Change it to 2 and the log message for debugging to 2 just to showcase that changes also there. As you can see, the 2 was added here. It uses this terminal icon I have also defined in the library. So what will happen if I drag and drop element to the canvas? All right, so I have this object was created on the canvas and it uses the default node of Workflow Builder. So it looks like any other object. So you don't have to create your own template if you just want to follow the same visuals as we have in the Workflow Builder. So as you can see, the text, the description, and the icon was copied from the palette item to the diagram object. And now when I selected the object, I can see that I only show the title, and it is possible to only define a new type. When I edit it and click, you can see that it is automatically being changed inside the node. So for free, we get this synchronization between the sidebar and the node for our newly implemented node object. So just for the sake of the presentation, let's finalize the form for this object. I'm going to copy it from my nodes. So going back to the UI schema, let's create the rest of the properties. And let's go through each of them. So it is possible to edit title as before. Later on, it is also possible to edit description the same way as title. Then, as you remember, in schema, we provided information that we are going to have custom attribute log level. It is a string, but inside it has a list of options. So in UI schema, we are defining that this attribute should be visualized as select. It is bound to this log level property. It has log level label, and it has options based on this log level options we defined in schema. We'll see shortly how it works. But moving further, we also have a message, which is a text area with some placeholder text and min rows. And later on, we would also like to create a UI for a timestamp. So it has some label, and next to the label, we should have a switch control to edit the timestamp Boolean value. So since they should be next to each other, we used horizontal layout. to render them. So let's see how it works right now. Let me hit save and go back to the application. Okay, and now when I select an object, I can see that, yes, I can edit description of the node. I have a select based on the options values. I can provide some log message, and I have a switch for the timestamp. And when I put a new node from the palette to the diagram, the default values are fed to the node. So in example, we see that we wanted the timestamp to be true, and it is. This form just show you the basic functionality of defining a custom attributes. Actually, the form in Workflow Builder is much more powerful. Let me just show you one form which we already created for the action. So first of all, for the action, we can choose the type of an action. And when I choose the type of an action, it defines the rest of the forms. So for make API call, we have this kind of form. If I will send email, I have additional. And an example in here, you can see retry on failure, which is false. And then we have number of retries, which is disabled. So only when I change this retry on failure to true, then it becomes enabled. And this kind of behavior, along with this kind of behavior of choosing form, it can also be driven via configuration. So just quick glance how it was implemented. Let's go to the action UI schema. Let's find this attribute. Once again, what was it? Number of retries. Okay, in number of retries, we have a label. And in the horizontal layout, we have a label and a field of type text bound to the property retries. As we can see, the scope handles nested objects. And inside it, we have a rule. This rule tells that it should fire the effect disable. And the condition, whether it should be disabled or enabled, is bound to this another value in the data, retry on failure. So if it is false, then it is disabled. If it is true, it is enabled. So this kind of logic is also possible for Workflow Builder. It follows the just regular JSON forms logic. It is even possible to style the form from inside the configuration. Like if we have horizontal layout, we can provide information what area should be covered by which element of the layout using the flex attributes like in CSS. As you can see, overriding attributing here and having your own form for any business data is just a matter of configuration without any tinkering inside the Workflow Builder, just creating a few data types, connecting to the node and registering node in the palette. So basically, it is possible to define your objects on the backend side along with attributes and dynamically feed them to the application. So the application can be fully configuration driven from the backend. So we don't have to ask any front-end developer to change anything on the front end, just to have a new object and with custom attributes. One other thing I also wanted to show you in this step is in the logger schema, there is in the schema we have properties, but I also can provide a required. In this required, I can provide names of attributes which should be required by the frontend. So let's say that description, description should be always there. So what will happen if I remove the description? Okay, so right now, when the description is in the required array, we can see the asterisk in here. And when I remove the description, we can see that it is in red. We can see the control telling us that something is wrong. And on the node, we can see the warning sign saying that there is an issue with attributes of the object. Yeah, when selected, we can see what is wrong. We can just fix it, and it works. So it is an additional form functionality as default enabled in Workflow Builder if you require such functionality. Okay, so it was easy way to create a new node, but what if you want to create a fully custom node? Like, as you can see, those nodes are very similar to each other. They just differ with text, the icon, most of them. But what if I want to have a AI agent node? So this node is already implemented, but let's think that we would like to implement such an object. How to do that? As you can see, it has a lot of additional attributes. And for sure, it doesn't look like this node. So how to achieve this custom look? Of course, we cannot use the same React component as this one. So we need to define our own React component to create such a node and register it in proper places. So let's start. But for now, we are not going to implement the same component as this one. We are going to focus on much simpler node just to showcase how to do that. And later on, I will show you how to style it very quickly using Overflow UI library. All right, so going back to the code, once again, we are going to provide the data for this object. Since I've already explained how to create a new data for the object, how to create UI schema for it, how to provide the default values, and how to register in the palette, let me just do some copy and pasting here. So what we are going to have is a simple AI node. It's going to have a schema. Oops. To quickly enter. Once again, schema, UI schema. Default properties data. And simple UI, simple AI object, which will be registered in the palette. All right, so let me quickly copy the data which we're going to show. First of all, let's start with schema. It is directory, sorry. Once again, schema. Yes. All right, so this object should, besides shared properties like title and description, we should be able to define a model which is going to be used in our agent, and what kind of memory should we have in this model. And for now, we're going to have following model options like this is GPT or 4 or 3.5 or maybe Claude. For memory options, we're going to use some buffer or maybe summary or maybe non-memory. So we have also used this node schema here, and we define the type for the other schemas. So now let's use the UI schema. UI schema for now will be very simple. It's just a vertical layout, some text for title, select for model, and select for memory, as before. For the default properties, also very simple. Default label simple AI, default model GPT-4, default memory buffer, and lastly, the definition of the palette object. Almost very similar to the last one, besides this field. So the simple UI type for the palette, it should be a robot icon. It should be named simple AI inside the palette with the description basic AI node example, with the schema, UI schema default properties as defined in here. But the new field added is template type. So this type tells Workflow Builder what kind of React component should be used to render this object on the diagram. So for now, let's comment it, and let's just register this object in the palette. So below logger, we are going to have a simple AI object. Let's go to the page and see how it looks like. All right, so at the bottom, we can see the simple AI. We can drag and drop. And as you can see, it is possible to edit its properties like we defined. But since I have just commented the template type, it used the default look as before. But I don't want the default look. I want the custom one. So how to achieve it? Going back to the code. As I said, in the data, we only define the data which drives the React components. But the React components for the nodes, edges, and other diagram elements are defined in directory features, diagram, nodes. So right now, let's create a directory for the simple AI node. Okay. And now let's create a component. For now, this component will be very simple. So it is just a React. So let me just copy and paste the code. So let's look at this component. Like in React Flow, if I register this component in React Flow, as props is going to get the data from the object. So the data we defined on the palette. Using built-in Workflow Builder types, I can strictly type these props. So you can see that I'm using the simple AI node schema. Thanks to it, when I hover over the data, I can see that model, memory, label, and description is a part of data. So this is just a helper to have a good typing of our component. All right, so now I'm getting from the data properties, I'm getting the values I want to show inside my component. So the label, the model, and the memory. And then I'm just using the simple divs. So the div container for the node, which toggles the selected state if the node is selected or not, the place for the label, the place for the model, the place for memory, and I'm defining the two ports on the left and right hand side. So just to finalize it, I need to also style it a little bit so it looks somehow. So let me just copy and paste some styles. And those styles are very basic. Like I'm just using some hard-coded backgrounds. When node is selected, it should change the color to this violet color. Yeah. So we have just defined the component. Now we need to register. So the next thing is we need to define a new node type. So in the application, we have a node types type, and I'm sorry, we just need to register a new simple AI node type. Then we have, maybe let's go to the diagram. So it is the main diagram for the Workflow Builder. It is just a React flow diagram, as I shown you in the previous example. So we can see where is the mapping we pass to the diagram between the type name and the React component used to render the given node. So we use the node types attribute. Let's go to it. So it is actually implemented via get node types object. Okay, so in here we define the node type to the component implemented. So let's use the type I just registered. So node type simple AI node. And now let's import the React component we have just created. Okay, so right now, this new custom node was implemented on the diagram thanks to adding into this array. Let's see if it works. It shouldn't, but let's see. First of all, we lack of some CSS module. So let's go back to the code. Probably I named wrongly, of course. Let's create a proper name. Right, going back to the diagram. Still, simple AI uses the default look. Why? Because I didn't register in the palette that it should use the custom type. So going back to the AI, simple AI data, in here I just need to uncomment the template type. So I use this enum value I use to register the object in the diagram. So now, after saving, let's see what happens. Something breaks. Maybe let's see the console, if it is possible. Okay, so when we drag and drop element from the palette to diagram, we also need to define the preview. So how the node look like during the drag action. Previously, when we implemented this default type, the node preview was automatically created because it is just the default logic of the Workflow Builder. But since we created a custom object and we use this custom object on the palette, we need to also tell the palette system how to create preview during the drag action. So I'm going to do so right now. Mm-hmm. Let me go to the project. Sorry. All right, so going back to the node template we just created, simple AI PSX. Let's add some simple preview definition. So it is separate React component. It is just a simple div showing the label, and that's it. And we need to register it. Inside the node preview container. All right. In node preview container, we just need to import the proper node. Just lost in my notes once again. Sorry for that. Going back. All right, here we have the node template definition for the preview. So we just need to add a node type simple AI node with simple AI node preview. We've just added. All right, so right now the preview we just implemented was registered in the palette preview. So everything should work. And let's go back to the application and let's see what happens now. Okay, so I have simple AI object, which is just a very simple div. When I drag and drop it to the diagram, it still is rendered as a very simple div. The same attributes are editable as before. So when I change the model, we can see that it reflects the model in the node visualization, but it doesn't use the default the default template. It uses the custom template we just created. Summing up, what we had to do to create a custom node, still there was almost no tinkering with any Workflow Builder logic. We just had to once again register the schemas, the data types in the palette. We had to create a new React component for the rendering object on the diagram. We had to tell the Workflow Builder that this React component should render the object from the palette, and we had to register this object in two places. And we had to also tell the palette how this object should look like during the drag action of the preview. So just creating a new components and registering them in proper places in the Workflow Builder. And that's it. Now, when we have an AI agent object, we can see that it has some additional control. In this control, adding tools is a custom control. It is not like text area or text input or select. It is something which is only required by this kind of object. So what if we need to implement any other custom attribute, so the custom control for any attribute we have in our custom node, and we don't want to rely only on the default controls which are shipped with Workflow Builder. We can create our own control. And right now I'm going to show you how we are going to do so for this object. So We are also going to provide a schema and UI schema, but not for the node itself, but right now for the control. So first of all, going back to the code, we are going to open the controls file in which we implement the types of each control available in the workflow builder. In example, we have types for the text control, which are just telling what kind of inputs it expects. And it is how to say that it is decorated with additional types from the JSON forms, so this type can be used with JSON forms. So we just need to follow the same strategy as other types. So let's right now create a control for simple AI tool. For the type. Whoops. This control should only work with single value, with the string name of the tool. Now just adding a type so the JSON forms understands what we want from it. So it's going to be based on base control of JSON forms. And we are going to provide a type so it knows how to differentiate this type from other types, this control from other controls. It's going to be named simple tools. And one other type following other types we have in the system. Defining what types of props it will accept as a React component. It's going to accept array simple tools. Maybe some typo somewhere. I forgot about something. Let me check. Simple tool, it just uses the name. So this type just is the name. And then we have a control element, we just overrides base control element with additional type, simple tools, and we export it as control props with this array of simple tools. And that's it. So why it's outside right now? Maybe some typos, so just let me copy and paste from my notes and see what happens right now. All right, so I will come back to it later. We'll see if maybe it depends on something other. Right now, let's go to the implementation of the simple tools control. So this control, which will be visible on the sidebar. So in the JSON form directory, we have components. We have controls. In these controls, we have all of the controls available as a React components. So let's just add a new folder for the new control. It's going to be named simple tools control PSX. All right, it should be a directory. So. And we are going to also create styles for it. Simple tools control. All right. And it is also the React component. So I'm not going to type React component right now, just copy and paste from the notes. So how does it look like? So it is just a React component. It accepts props we have defined in here. Still just the diffs. Its main purpose, we are going to create a dynamic list of tools with adding a button to create, with using an add button to create a new tool in each row, and each tool should be removable via X. And that's it. The most important thing in this is that with props, it also gets the handle change callback. And this handle change callback is it tells how to edit attribute of object. So it gets a list of tools. I mean, we get a list of tools, and we add a new tool when we add click a button. So we add a new tool to the list of tools, and we invoke handle change, which is the Workflow Builder's functionality, which tells the selected node to update its data with this attribute. And the path is how to achieve this attribute inside the node's data, and it is computed dynamically by Workflow Builder thanks to our configuration. All right, but I have some issue. Maybe I forgot to register it somewhere else. So let me check. But for now, let's also copy and paste CSS. So it looks somehow well. Simple CSS. Then, since we created this control, we created typing for it, we need to register it in our JSON forms. All right, so let's find where we have renderers for rendering objects. Okay, so we have it here. We're going to just have this renderer we just created, simple tools control renderer. Okay, it was imported. Great. One more thing. As you can see in here, it is just a React component, but the JSON forms, it requires something called a renderer. So we added the helper function, create control renderer, which just tells that the simple tools type is going to be connected to this control, so this component, and it creates renderer, which can be registered in JSON forms, and it should work. I don't know why it now tells me it's impossible to add it. All right. For now, let's leave it. Let's quickly create entry for the nodes data to use this control, and we will see if it renders or not. Maybe it is just a TypeScript thing, and in the end, the logic may work. So right now, let's go to simple AI node to its schema. let's add array of tools to the schema. So we are telling that this tools value in the data, it should be an array, and this array should inside have objects having just a name type string. Then in UI schema, we want to use the control we just registered. So we are just going to use this simple tools control. For the tools attribute, we have just different in the schema. Right now, I'm not going to change anything about the node, so I'm not going to represent those tools inside the node object. I'm just going to check if it works regardless of TypeScript errors. So right now, when I select an object, I can see on the right-hand side that indeed, it is using my new control I have just defined. It is possible to add several objects. I can remove them. So the last thing I would like to see whether using this custom control is influencing the data of this object. Of course, I can see it when I export the model, but let's visualize those tools inside the node. So going back to the code, and let's go to the node template. And we just need to add additional divs to visualize those tools. So let me just copy it from my nodes. And those tools are going to be gotten from the properties. And as default, they are just empty array. Probably we also need to adjust styles. So let's add styles for tools too. And let's go back to the application and see how it looks like right now. Okay, so we can see that those tools are visible in the node. And let's see what will happen if I add a new object to the array. It works. All right. So regardless of TypeScript error, I'm not sure why it happens because in my nodes, in my additional VS Code with the same functionality, I don't have any errors, and I edited the same files because to register a new control and add it to the node with registering it to the data of the palette, it requires to edit 9 files, and only those 9 files are edited. But still, during the demo, I have TypeScript error, whereas in my notes I don't have it. Probably just the demo time. Regardless of this, it works. So summing this up, what we had to do, we had to create a React component which describes how this control should look like. We had to register this React component inside the JSON forms configuration under the name Simple AI tools. Then, since it was registered, we could use it in the schema of the data in the palette. So it was possible to just tell the schema, the UI schema, that it should use this control simple tools to showcase the tools from the data and edit it there. So still just a matter of creating a custom single React component with registering it in proper places, and that's it. So just the configuration and the new component without any deep tinkering or in Workflow Builder. Yeah, so regardless, even though it is just a configuration and creating the components, it was quite complicated. So the rest of the examples will be much smaller, because right now I just wanted to show you how to how to leverage Overflow UI library to quickly improve the look of this object. So just quick introduction to the Overflow UI. So Overflow is the library we created so users can extend any React Flow application, in example, Workflow Builder, with custom UI and custom functionality. And actually, everything we can see in the Workflow Builder was built using Overflow UI. You could say that the Overflow UI is material UI for diagrams. So let's see what it offers. So first of all, since the Overflow UI is mainly for diagrams, it ships nodes and edges. So let's look at how the node looks. All right, so this is the basic node from the Overflow UI. As you can see, it already gives you the hover effect and selection effect, and it works just a React Flow component. How to define it? You just import the node panel root, then define the header and the content with any React Flow content you want, and it gives you this functionality. Maybe you would like to have a styled header content, so it is possible to just provide node panel header with title and description, and it styles the text inside. Then maybe you would like to have an icon, so icon is also included. So you just use the node icon and you pass any icon you want. So it positions this icon properly as in Workflow Builder. Then maybe we would like to have handles. So there is a specific container for handles. So they look good when we hover over, they change their style to showcase that it is possible to link from them. But right now, when I link from the port, I need to finish the linking over another port, so it creates a line. To ease this, it is also possible to simplify connection, so we can wrap the whole node as port wrapper, also from Overflow UI. And right now, I can finish the linking everywhere over another node, and the connection will be created automatically. Besides that, Overflow UI also gives you an edge. So similar edge we use in Workflow Builder with labels. So those labels also provides you different states, hover, disabled, etc., and styling. And besides that, all of the other components you would expect from UI library, like avatar, buttons with different states, checkboxes, data picker, inputs, menu, modals. Actually, most of our design system is implemented inside Overflow UI, so it is easy to use already existing UIs from Workflow Builder in any other application or in custom objects created in React Flow. In Workflow Builder. This library is based on base UI provided by Material UI. So base UI is just a Material UI without any styles. It just gives you the accessibility, some basic logic, but without any styling. And we applied the styling from our design system to those controls. And this library, the Overflow UI, is fully open source and can be used in any project on MIT license. So let's quickly change our node using the Overflow UI. So let's just go to this simple AI node. First of all, let's remove what we already have in here in those divs. And start with this node panel root. we should import it from Overflow UI. First of all, we want to tell it if it should be selected or not. So root gets it accepts property selected. Then let's add some header. Inside the header, we would like to have icon. Just launch. For the icon, I'm using the Workflow Builder helper from the icons library. All right, now no description. Also from Overflow, it accepts label, so the top text, and description, so the bottom text. So as the description, we can add any text, like, I don't know. Description, just from the data. All right. And maybe that's it. Maybe let's see how it works right now with this simple route without any handles, without any models inside. Let's go back to the application. All right, so we didn't change it in the palette, just on the diagram, and we already see that with those simple lines, we have similar look as with other objects, because other objects are based on Overflow UI too. But this object is more complicated. As you saw, we visualize the model, we visualize the memory, we also visualize those tools. So let's add the rest of the object. So going further, we are going to add content. Okay. So for the content, I'm going to just copy and paste what we already had. So those divs for the model. And for the tools, I'm also going to copy and paste what we already had with minor change. We use this name. All right. So I would like, from each tool, I would like to have a port, a handle, so I can connect each tool to other nodes via Edge. So in Workflow Builder, we have a helper for that. It is called connectable item, and it automatically creates div with handle on the right-hand side, or on the bottom if the direction changes. So I'm going to use it for the tools. And I'm also going to add handles. So those regular right and left handles around the node. So let me just copy and paste it here. I'm also using the Overflow UI handles container. I have just added several Overflow UI elements. I used old divs for the model and memory. I used all divs for tools, but I used also helper for connectable item. So let's look how it works right now. Let's refresh the page. Let's copy, sorry, let's create a new simple AI object. Let's add some elements. All right, so we still need to apply some styling because some CSS changed. I mean, the background of object changed. So I need to apply the CSS for the divs we already had. So let me just copy and paste the proper CSS. Right now, the CSS for this object is also only for settings. So for the model, for the memory, and for the tools. And that's it. I don't have any CSS for node container, any CSS for node icon, etc. All of that CSS goes from Overflow UI right now. So let's see how it looks like right now. All right, so it looks much better. And we can see that this connectable item indeed created handles for each tool inside. Okay, so the last thing, we can see that this real AI agent object also is expandable and collapsible. And this feature also comes from Overflow UI. So we can quickly add it to our node. So in Overflow UI, we have a collapsible component. So let's add it. Let's wrap whole node in collapsible. Okay, and we also need to provide a button for the collapsible action. So this button will be in header. So let's add it next to the description. Also from Overflow UI, collapsible button. And also we need to provide information what content of the node should be collapsible. So what will hide if we click on the button. So since we wrapped everything in collapsible, we can provide a collapsible content. So actually what I want to hide, I want to only hide the memory and model. So let's wrap them in the collapsible content. Oops. Like that. And in here, but I need to somehow tell whether this content is visible by default. Corresponding project. Sorry for that. I need to close it properly. Once again, some TypeScript issue. Let me just check whether it works. Let's clear the page, copy and paste simple AI object. As we can see, as default, it is collapsed. It works, but I don't have any tools. So let's add some tools. And now let's expand collapse. As we can see, only this section, which was wrapped into the collapsible content, is being wrapped. All right. So very quickly from the node without any styles, we went to the node with a lot of styles without almost any styling. The only CSS we had to apply was to those custom sections, but the functionality of the node with hovering, with the ports being visible when hovering over, with the highlight, hover, etc., everything was gotten from the Overflow UI library. So it eases work, but of course you could just use custom CSS to achieve the same effect, but it would require a lot of more CSS. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you is rebranding. Okay, so right now, as you can see, we are in the dark mode, and everything is kind of gray with the blue outline, and the blue is like an accent color. So how can we improve it? So let's go to the code, and let's go to the global CSS. So in global CSS, we can see that our Workflow Builder, it imports tokens from the Overflow UI. So Overflow UI provides you the set of base tokens like colors, sizes, etc., which you can use in your project. In example, in here in root, we create a CSS variable WB background color, which is assigned to AX UI background tertiary default, and this variable is from the token CSS. So of course, those tokens can be seen inside the Overflow UI source code. So you can see what kind of library names are there. So actually, how to rebrand the application quickly. We can just create a simple CSS file which overrides the variables we get from the Overflow UI, and it will be just it. So let me quickly create such a tool. Sorry, such a CSS. Let's create custom theme. And let me just copy and paste overridden variables. So I'm going to use green as accent color and brown as the backgrounds. So basically like some nature theme. And what I'm only overriding are variables from the Overflow UI. We can see how those variables are being used. Like, let's check the source code of Workflow Builder for the variables. Let's say the palette. In the palette, we can see that the palette item outline color is being loaded from the Overflow UI variable. So thanks to those variables CSS, we can explore the Workflow Builder to see how different parts of the application are styled using which variables from the Overflow UI, so we can easily know what to override. All right, so I have just created this custom theme in here, and what I need to do, I just need to import it in the global CSS after the tokens from Overflow UI are imported. All right, so let's see right now how the application looks like. I'm not sure if you can see it well via shared screen, but right now everything is brown and accent colors are green. When I change the light mode, it also works. So yeah, actually that's it. With this presentation, I've just shown you how to implement a new node based on the default nodes we already have in Workflow Builder, how to create a custom node from scratch, register it, and then apply the custom attribute with the custom control to edit this attribute. And then how to use external library to style the custom node quickly. Then how to quickly change the colors of the whole diagram. This is just an example. Of course, the branding can be very different. And in the end, if you require a much deeper change to the Workflow Builder, like you don't need the palette or you want to have a palette with several rows, several columns, or maybe you want to have some custom logic on the diagram, then it's a matter of just editing React code we have in here. As I said, it is just a white label tool. So in the end, it is like a foundation, and you can edit however you want in your products. Regardless if you use open source or enterprise, it is just a white label solution created for further change. All right, so going back to my presentation, let me change the screen which I'm presenting. So quick summary, what we give with Workflow Builder open source. It is based on React Flow, based on Zustand, based on TypeScript and React. It is fully free for commercial use. You have palette with extendable nodes, edge templates, sidebar for editing with predefined configurable controls. You have translation system. You have a plugin system. I didn't showcase plugin system because it is a quite advanced thing, but with the plugin system, it is possible to add a new functionality, a new logic to the library, which can be turned on and off by on demand. It is fully configurable via JSON, which I have shown you just now. It supports dark and light mode. With Enterprise, we add a little bit more features like auto layout, copy paste, undo redo, export PDF, reshapeable edges, avoiding nodes, Figma design system. Besides Overflow UI, you also get the full Figma system. Sorry. And the thing I didn't show you is the widget system. So right now it is just in preview. So we are working on it right now. With the widget system, it is possible to add a custom content to the node without having to creating custom node from the scratch. So right now it is just a showcase that I'm adding some additional fields to the node, and we can see them in here. We can reorder them, remove them, and it is possible to register any kind of widget which can be dynamically added to the object. Right now it is in preview, and we are working on it right now. Sorry, wrong screen. Once again, I'm tired. Once again, with widgets, I can add several widgets to the node. Right now, just for the showcase some text, which is visible dynamically. I can remove them dynamically. I can reorder them. I can change their visibility, and it is possible to register any kind of widget. It is just a React component. So thanks to that, it is possible to create a custom node with custom content without having to create the custom node from scratch, as I presented. We provide this open source Overflow UI library. And besides that, besides the Overflow UI, it also has some premium features. Like if you want to extend the functionality of Workflow Builder or any other React Flow project, you can use the premium features from Overflow. In example, to add a freehand drawing, grouping, rotation, undo redo, custom node shapes, etc. You can explore Overflow Premium on the Overflow page, and I'm going to provide you the link at the end of the presentation. Yes, so you can see the links to our open source SDK, to the Discord, and you can get additional digital perks from us. So like ebooks for learning React Flow, more links to the demo of Workflow Builder, to the Overflow library, my LinkedIn if you want to connect and talk a bit about Workflow Builder and any other thing, diagramming or not. And actually, that's it. It's the finish of my workshop. So if you have questions, now is the time to ask them. By the way, sorry for the interruption during the presentation. Of course, during the demo, the TypeScript behaved strangely. I hope it was still good enough so you can work with Workflow Builder if you want. Okay, I don't see any questions. So thank you very much for attending my presentation. And if you need any support, and if you have any additional question, please reach out to me via LinkedIn, and we can talk further. Thank you very much. We are going to share with you the video, the presentation, also the source code I was working on today, so you can see yourself how everything was implemented. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.